Afternoon, this is Eric, Flirting with the Realities, and today I wanted to talk about the cold bath that I've been using. I'm about on day 45 of this thing, and it's been nothing but amazing. So, started this in the middle of December, and it was pretty cold out, and it's been a mind-blowing transformation. I've never done anything in my life that's been so good for me, mentally and physically. So in December and January, it was cold out. We were down in the single digits. So the water actually froze in this cold bath, and I just noticed that there was a ton of mental clarity, and I also noticed that I had almost no inflammation in my body. I have just like really tight back pain. I think it's actually tight hamstrings that cause the back pain. And usually I solve that through yoga, but I have to do yoga 4 or 5 days a week to feel the way that I did in this cold bath. So what this video is about though is what happened is it got warm out. It got up to 60-ish degrees, and then the water got to about 50 degrees. And when the water turned 50 degrees, it was night and day. All of a sudden the inflammation in my body came back. The clarity wasn't so good in my brain. It was just some brain fog. It's really hard to go from just such a high level of body and brain and then go back to where you were. So I was up about 3 weeks of just amazingness, and then I went back. And so it kind of gotten cold out again. And so the cold bath has gotten down slowly over time. We've gotten below 50, and that was a huge difference. And then below 48 degrees, and that was a huge difference. And it's weird, but honestly, you can tell about 2 degrees in your water temperature. So now we're sitting at close to, I think we're about 38 degrees last night. And at 38 or 40 degrees, I can feel my body losing its inflammation, and I can feel my brain, and I can feel my clarity and everything coming back. Sorry, I have to excuse my chickens. They're a little bit rowdy. They can see me. So it occurred to me that I'm going to have to do something. This cold bath is just the standard Rubbermaid horse trough, 150 gallons. And I love the thing because I fit in there. I'm 6'2" and like 230. So I'm not small. But this thing's awesome because I can put my whole body in there, fully submerged, and I can even go underwater. I can dunk my head and be fully submerged. So it's awesome. But I'm kind of wondering if I made the wrong decision because it's getting warm. And so if we're above 60 degrees, now all of a sudden I've got to deal with a 50-degree cold bath, which isn't cold anymore. So I'm already struggling and thinking like we're not even in the warm months yet. If we get in the warm months, I'm going to be in serious trouble. I won't have all these benefits that I'm feeling. So I'm going to try to avoid this. What I came up with is I feel like it's actually kind of obvious. I haven't seen anybody do it, but I'm not really, it's a whole nother topic, but I'm not researching things anymore, as silly as that sounds. I feel like it kind of takes your results and you just do what everybody else does, and you don't come up with really good ideas anymore. And there's kind of groupthink that isn't correct anyway, but I don't want to go into that. But what I did here is I've got this little tiny chest freezer. This thing's probably 7 cubic foot. I don't think it's 5. It's probably 7. I'll look on the back. But 7, 9 cubic foot. It's smallerish like that. So what people have been doing with the chest freezers is they take their chest freezer and then they're doing their whole entire cold bath in there, which maybe I should have gone with. I'm not sure. There's a couple drawbacks I didn't want to deal with. I didn't want to deal with, I've got kind of wide shoulders. I don't want to be hindered size-wise like that. And I just didn't want to deal with, like, I don't know, the freezer breaking and stuff like that. I don't even know if that would happen, but that's just kind of what's in my head. It might not even be true. But anyway, I got into this cold bath, and I got this 150-gallon Rubbermaid, and I didn't know what I was getting into when I did this. I thought maybe I'm just going to get this cold bath and maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't, maybe I'll do it for a week, maybe I'll, I didn't know what to think. But I'm telling you, I'm hooked. Not only hooked, I'm addicted. Not only addicted, I need it. I need it because I've seen what life can be with cold temperatures. So I'm just kind of dealing. I'm going backwards. It's a lot of times this is what I do in life. You just start out with a minimums, and then like you kind of adapt, and then the next thing you know, you're heavy into it, and you're like, I should have just spent like whatever $5,000 on a legit system. So that might be the path I'm going through, but I'm hoping this is actually going to be a good idea. So like I said, people do these chest freezers, they bathe in them, and ironically, a lot of people will get these little chest freezers and they'll freeze things in them. So they'll get like a container, or like I've seen silicone like grocery looking bags. People freeze water and then they put it in their cold bath to cool it. But what I haven't seen yet, and like I said, maybe this exists, maybe I just didn't look far enough, but what I haven't seen is I haven't seen anybody turn a little freezer into a chiller. So that's my plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plumb my lines. I've already got half of them done here, but I'm going to plumb my lines over here. So it's going to come out the drain. It's going to fill the freezer up. And then out of the freezer, I'm going to have this pump, and the pump's going to go through a filter, which is an awesome addition too. And then I'm going to pump the water. So the water is going to go from the cold tub into the freezer, out of the freezer, back into the cold tub. And I'm just going to circulate that. So I'm going to circulate it, and my hope is that little freezer will just get the water cold and keep it cold. So this is like me starting out right now. I don't know. I have read and researched a little bit that it takes a minute for these freezers to get the water cold. Some people were saying 12, 24 hours. And that's kind of a bummer if that's true, because I was thinking I was going to be able to take these freezers and I was going to be able to put it on a smart switch, and I was going to run the freezer for, this is my fantasy, I guess. I was going to run the freezer for an hour or two, pump the water in as soon as it gets cold, and then that's good for the day. So don't know if that's going to happen. I might have been a little too optimistic, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this phase by phase, and I'm going to see what does work. So I'm going to hook this up. I'm not going to insulate anything right now. I'm just going to leave everything hooked up, and I'll actually do some testing. So I'll hook the freezer up, and I'm going to see what kind of drops in temperature I can get from the water by the hour. So we'll test that. We'll see what kind of temperature drops I get by the hour, and then I'll pump it in once it gets mid 30s, or just below or just above freezing. I'll pump it into the cold bath, and then we'll see how much difference it makes. So I think a 7 cubic foot, if I'm right, is close to about 50 gallons if it's full. And I don't think it'll get full because the height of my cold bath dictates the height of my freezer water. And the freezer is a little bit taller, so the freezer is actually not going to fill up completely. But anyway, a 7 cubic foot freezer should be about 50 gallons. I've got roughly 150 gallons in there. So it's about 25% capacity is in the freezer. And I just did some math. If the cold bath's at 60 and the freezers say at like 32, I think it comes down to, it only cools it down to like 50 degrees. So that's not going to be enough if that's the case. You're going to have to constantly circulate this. But I think that's what I'm going to be testing, is how long do I have to circulate the water? How long do I have to freeze the water to get this thing cold? And then if it's going to be a lot of work, like if I would have to turn this thing on 8 to 10 hours a day to get it to cool this thing down to, I want to get below 40 is my goal. If I got to do that like basically all day, then I'm going to have to go and I'm going to surround this cold bath, and I'm going to put insulation in there. And then also this white freezer just isn't working for us. I mean, you can see it just kind of looks like a sore thumb. So I'm actually going to build like a little facade around that too, just to make it look good. So I got some work to do. Like I say, we'll just do some testing. We'll see what it looks like. Oh, and just to talk about the cold bath, what I got going on here is it's been working out awesome, but I got this rain gutter here. So this rain gutter runs down into my cold bath, and that's been awesome because we live in the Pacific Northwest and it rains a lot here, as you probably know. But when it rains, you can probably see, let me get a little closer, but you can probably see this section of roof right here, probably a little over 2 feet wide, and it's just like a weird little section. So I'm not sure. That's just the way they built the house. Oh, I lost the camera. Sorry. It's just the way they built the house. Is I got this little section here, but this little section will give me 5-10 gallons on a good rainstorm. So what happens is that 5 or 10 gallons will run into the cold bath, and then it fills it up. And it keeps it full of fresh water. You know, you get in and it overflows, and it kind of gets all the gunk out, some of the gunk, and it just kind of refreshes the system. So if you guys are anywhere that rains, check that out. Try to get a rain gutter plumbed into your cold bath, and it's been super awesome. And a lot of people like to be negative when they comment, and a lot of people are like, well, there's stuff on your roof, and there's, you know, so I don't know about asphalt roofs, but this is the metal roof, and I do test my water because we actually use this in our house. We use 100% rainwater in the winter months for showering, dishes, drinking. You know, and I've been drinking rainwater off my roof for a little over 3 years now. So I do have it tested, and I think I came in at like 3 parts per million. So there's 3 parts of something in a million that are not H2O. And to compare that to city water, I think my city water is like 250 to 300 parts per million. So the rainwater, even if you want to say that maybe a bird pooped on it, or a squirrel walked with muddy feet, or there's pine needles in my gutter, like whatever you want to say, it's still undebatably way cleaner than city water. And I've gotten a little bit weird after this whole COVID thing, but also I just don't trust city water anymore. That's why I went to rainwater. I don't want fluoride. I don't want chlorine. You know, there's like arsenic. There's tons of stuff in your city water, and your city will actually should have an online report of what is found in your water, and you should look that up because you might be amazed what is allowable in your water source. And you know, if you do a little research, which could be good or bad thing, they say the allowable amounts haven't been updated in decades. So what they used to consider safe decades ago might not be safe today. You know, that's up to you. You can figure that out. But anyway, I just want to talk about, since we're talking about cold bath stuff, I get it off the roof, and I would actually take a bigger portion of my roof. Like this is a huge portion, but this rain gutter, I don't know if I can show you. This rain gutter goes down into a barrel right there, and then that barrel feeds my larger rain barrel. So I've got 2,200 gallons. But that's why I don't use a bigger portion of my roof, is because it's already being used for my main rainwater for my house. So that's pretty much the cold bath. That's where we're at. And we're actually looking good right now. I'm under 40s. And I'm going to drain it, and I'm going to do all this work. But this is the freezer we're going to start with. And like I say, so I'm going to plumb this thing with PEX plumbing. You could also use, you're going to need a little bit, I guess, of handyman skills for this. But it's really not that bad. You could use like a barb fitting and like hoses with like hose clamps. So you can do that. But I'm going all PEX. And the only part that's going to be a tiny bit tricky is I got these parts. So I'll show you my drain. This is going to be my new drain. So this is a 1 1/4 NPT bulkhead fitting. So 1 1/4 bulkhead fitting to 1 1/4 elbow, and then a 1 1/4 NPT to a 1-inch PEX fitting. So this is going to go actually in my drain, and I'll show you my drain. My drain, I got lucky, I feel like, because I dug out the drain with the foam, and there's no lines, there's no refrigerant, there's no nothing in the way. So this will go in good. I just got to drill a hole big enough for this, tighten everything up. And one other piece of information is I tried my drain hole that was came standard on this. It fit a 1/2 inch PEX line perfectly, like a press fit. So I just pushed it in there, but it didn't fill the freezer up too good. It was a little bit slow. And then, I just thought about it, and I'm like, just pushing a 1/2 inch PEX line in there, I'm not up for like accidentally hitting the PEX line and have it draining, especially while you're doing a bath. Like I don't want to be bothered with any of that stuff. So I want something that's like bolted together. You can't kick it. You can't accidentally move the freezer and it's going to drain. That 1/2 inch PEX line, I mean, you could have siliconed it in or something if you want to do something like that, but I don't want to bother with it. So this is going to go in. That'll be my drain. And then I bought a simple aquarium pump. And I actually bought, we'll see if I can show you. See, I bought this pump first. But this pump, sorry, this pump here is gnarly. That pump is like, oh, let me fix the camera. That pump, it pumps way too fast. So the thing is about this, this little freezer, you want a pump that pumps just a hair slower than you're filling. So you don't want to run your freezer dry. And you don't want to overfill your cold bath. So this thing has like a little bit of a limiter on it here, so I can slow it down, but I also put a ball valve on my line going back in. Look, this is one of the added benefits here, is I got this 10-inch filter. So I'm going to be running back. This is all a mess right now. Obviously I don't have it all plugged in, but I'm going to be running from this pump into 1/2 inch PEX. 1/2 inch PEX is going to go into my filter housing. I'm going to filter all my water in my cold bath, which is awesome because I'm going to have to clean this thing way less often. And then I'm bringing my line up to there, and then I've got that ball valve, and then I've got another bulkhead fitting like I just showed you. That bulkhead fitting is just going straight into the tank. And then that's going to be awesome too, because so we're getting filtered water, we're getting cold water, and then we're going to get water flow while we're in the cold bath. And anybody who's doing cold baths will know that that's important too, because you get in that cold bath and after just a couple seconds, you get that warm film around your body. And so in my opinion, if you're doing it right to get cold, you kind of move your body around and shake it around, and then you get the cold, the warm layer away from you. But this thing's going to be pumping straight between your legs. And when it goes straight between your legs, you're going to get a flow of water. And so it's going to be mixing the water. So this is going to be much more than just like a water chiller. So this is going to be the filter, the water chiller, and then movement within the bath itself. So this should actually be a pretty awesome upgrade. And then I guess just to explain too, a reason I didn't just buy a chiller is because I was looking at reviews and I was looking at chillers like on Amazon. And people were commenting that they buy like a $600 chiller, and these $600 chillers will take the temperature of their water from like 60 degrees to 56 degrees in an hour. And like I told you, I'm going for under 40 because it's such a huge difference. So 4 degrees is down to 56 is not going to do anything for me. I'm not interested. And then I looked at some other chillers. You're getting up to $1,300, $1,500, and those didn't look crazy amazing either. So you can get these freezers, like small ones like these. I mean, if you really wanted to, I'm pretty sure you could find one for free, like on Facebook Marketplace or something. $50 all day long, $70 all day long. You don't have to look that hard. That's for the small one. And I don't know if there's an engineer out there that wants to comment, but I was curious if a small freezer would be better than a little bit bigger freezer, because a small freezer will have less to cool, but it has less cooling area. And then a big freezer is going to have more to cool, more cooling area. So I don't know if they work out equal. I don't know if they'd work out the same. I don't know how that works. But anyway, I got a small one because it fits in this space. And it was free or cheap or whatever. And I'm actually going to keep this as a working freezer in case this doesn't work out. All I'm going to do is modify the drain. And if this doesn't work out, I just plug that drain hole up with a plug, and it's just a freezer again. So this should be pretty cool. I'm ready to go. I want to get some water circulating. I want my water to be 32 degrees. So we'll check it out. First things first, this is my drain hole that I cut out. And I was a little bit worried about this. You know, I was just worried about refrigerant lines or something coming in. You can see I just cut it out with a pocket knife even. I didn't do anything crazy. That is the bottom of my drain. Here's the drain that I'm not even going to deal with. I'm not going to deal with this because I think my new drain is going to come out the bottom anyway. So I'm just going to space the bottom of this out with like some 2x4s. I'll just set it on 2x4s, and then we should be looking something like that. So, and then the top of it, I'll just come in here. I'm just going to drill that thing out. So then other things I got to do is I'm just going to come around here in the corners and around on my seams, and I'm going to caulk those and get those together. I'm not really trying to make this a DIY video, but I wanted to help you guys out with a couple of, I guess, the harder things that I came across. So probably the hardest thing that I'm dealing with is how to make turn the drain into an input on this little chiller freezer. So I'm cutting the drain out and I'm putting that bulkhead in that I showed you. Like I say, there was nothing in the way, so everything was clear. I'm coming out the bottom of it, but let me show you what I've got going on. Look at the inside here. I had to put that bulkhead on there, but obviously this, whatever you call this, aluminum or the sheeting or whatever it is, it's pretty thin. So I got a giant washer and I toss that underneath the top piece here. And then I ditched the rubber gaskets. I'm just going to silicone all the way around that, make sure that's good. But I felt like those washers were really needed because, I mean, you can even look at like this. See if I can get the camera to come in. You can look at this dented stuff in here. I mean, if you dealt with these freezers, this stuff's pretty flimsy. Take a look here and you can see what I did with the drain. I cut out as much as I had to around the foam and around the drain and stuff. And then if you look up in there, I've got another one of those washers. I'm not sure if my camera's going to focus, but up in there, I've got another wash under there. And so I'm just going to silicone all this in, and hopefully we're good. Like I say, I'll put this up on 2x4s to clear that pipe. We should be good. Okay, so now I got everything kind of taken apart. I'll give you a little better look at what I got going on. This is that rubber coupler on the bottom of the Rubbermaid horse trough. And then, like I say, since it's threaded, I had to put silicone. I put silicone on the threads, and you probably can't see it, but I put silicone in there too. And this is all a mess, obviously, but this is how my filter is going to go roughly. I'll have to put that back together for it to look right. But then this is my drain coming off my tub. And then I just got it coming over here. I got it jogging around, and then it's going into the drain on the freezer. So drain on the tub, coming over, drain on the freezer. Then we're going to pump it up and out and then back in the tub. All right, now that we're a little bit more put back together. So you just saw where our lines go. The line's going to go back there in front of the freezer. And then if I can get a picture of it. So we're coming in the side of the tub here. That's going to be my return. So it's going to shoot cold water. See if I can zoom out. Not in. So it's going to shoot cold water all the way across. And then, you know, there's my drain. But so we're coming out here. This is my ball valve. So if the pump does pump too fast, I'll just shut that a little bit and I'll make it so the pump can't pump too much water out. This is my filter. Then it comes up. We're going in here and I just got this little aquarium pump. So yeah, you'll just have to imagine that all this is not quite put together right. Because like I said, I'm going to figure out if this even works first before I get into it. But the plan is I'm just going to notch the top of this out. So this will sit in there flush. All right, so we got everything set up here. Got the cold bath put together, and then we got the freezer going. So it's just kind of put together temporarily so that I can do some little testing here. Got an extension cord coming from out the house. And I got it all tied together. I got a smart outlet. So right now I've got it on, but what I'm going to see is I'm going to see how cold this freezer will make the water. We'll just see how it goes. And actually, so the water, if you can see, it's probably halfway full, maybe about 40% full. We'll see how that goes too. I was kind of hoping it was going to be a little bit more full, but it's kind of like I was talking about with the bigger freezer. You're going to have more water to freeze. So this could work out good. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I got done with plumbing the freezer and getting the cold bath set back up. And I actually have already done a test. And what I did is I ran the pump and the freezer and I circulated that. It was about 46 degrees outside, and then it was about 44 degrees in water in both the freezer and the tank, or the bath. And so I ran that for like 4 hours, and I'll just spare you the video, but about 4 hours later I was about 2 degrees lower. So it didn't work at all, and ironically it was about 2 degrees lower outside. So it went from like 46 to 44 degrees. So the temperature drop could have even been from the ambient temperature outside. So that didn't work at all. This little tiny freezer trying to cool about 175 gallons just isn't going to work. So what I've moved on to is I'm just freezing the water, and I'm not pumping it right now. So let's see what time it is. It's about 4 o'clock. So about 4 hours I've been running just the freezer. So I wanted to check in and I wanted to see how it was going with just the freezer, no recirculation. So let's see. So if you take a look, that's ice buildup down there. So I've got ice along all the walls. So I don't know if you can see it, but this is also ice. So I've got ice. Wow, there's actually a good buildup all along that wall. So let's see what the turtle says. Oh, turtle is stuck to the wall. No, whatever. Oh, okay, so we're doing really good. We're at 32 degrees. So my plan is I'm just going to run this until it's almost a block of ice, or if this pump starts getting frozen around it, which we still got a ways to go, then I'll start circulating. So I think worst case scenario right now, we're looking at just this acting like a freezer. And, you know, I think a lot of people are taking water bottles. They're taking, you know, anything they can get, and they're freezing it. They're putting it in a cold bath. So they're kind of doing what I'm doing in a way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to freeze this thing, and then I'll circulate the water, and we'll see what temperature we end up at. And then, like I said, I think since the water was like 44 degrees and outside temperature was 46 degrees, I think that's painfully obvious that I need to insulate the cold bath. It's just not going to do anything. So I'm going to see what happens, see if I can get this cold bath. You know, since I started this at noon, I think what I'm going to do is I'll just wait. We usually do sauna cold bath around 8 p.m., 9 p.m. So it'll be about 8 hours, and I'll see what happens if I start circulating the water maybe an hour before we get in, hour and a half, to make sure it's completely cold. See what we get. I mean, that could be an option. So you could do freezing your water pretty much all day, and then circulating right before you get in, and that might work. But I think it's going to become pretty obvious that my plan is going to be is to insulate the cold bath, and then just work on keeping it around 35-ish degrees, 40 degrees all day long. And I might have to do a thermostat in the freezer. Well, my plan right now actually is to use a smart plug, run it for, I mean, just do some testing, run it for however many hours to get it cold, run the pump, you know, every 3 hours or something to circulate. So I don't know, that's a lot of trial and error, but that's where I'm going to be. And then up is, if you look at this freezer, one of the cool things about it is, I think it was one of the other videos that I'm not going to show you, but my water only comes up about halfway. And so I don't know, actually, now that I'm feeling it, it does feel a little bit cold right there. But if you look, there's lines, and I don't know that this whole freezer actually freezes. Maybe somebody that knows something about freezers can tell us this, but I think it's like the bottom half of the freezer is the one that's doing all the work, maybe. So it might actually be a blessing that I don't have this thing completely full. Just a thought. Okay, so the freezer has been on for 8 hours now. Started it at noon, and it's now 8 o'clock at night, and we'll be in here in about an hour and a half. We'll be in the cold bath. So I wanted to test it and see how much it's going to bring the temperature of the cold bath down. So if you look at the freezer, look along those sides, you know, got a fair amount of ice. I don't think you can see it too well on the camera, but see, there's a bunch of ice. It's actually frosting up around the pump, so it's time to start this thing up a little bit. But obviously we've got the freezers at 32 degrees in there. And then let's see what we got for the bath. See if I can hold the light and the turtle at the same time. So we are at, it looks like about 47-ish degrees. So it was like 55 degrees today. So it got a little bit warmer than normal, but 47 degrees isn't really cold enough anymore. So I'm going to turn this thing on. This will run. The sauna takes about an hour to heat up, so we won't be in the sauna for an hour, and then we sit in there for a half hour. So we're an hour and a half away, and I'll check this before I get in to see where we're at in an hour and a half. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half, and if we look at our freezer, there's still ice. There's still a decent amount of ice going on. So this thing's still gonna chill the bath a good bit. Let's see what Mr. Turtle says. From 47 to about 41, I would say. I'm looking at my camera, it looks like 42, but it's about 41 to my eye. So that means we got 6 degrees in an hour and a half, and it will go more. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. I feel like the way the freezer is actually holding ice, and if we're at 40-ish degrees, I mean, it only has to come down like another 5. I feel like this could actually be a thing, is just let this freezer keep going and just even keep circulating, and I think we could maintain. But I think insulating it is definitely going to be the way to go to keep that energy bill down and be way more efficient. But I mean, this is awesome. Came down from almost 47, 48 degrees down to like 40. So promising. Hey guys, I'm back at it today, and what I'm doing is I'm actually going to frame in this cold bath, and I'm going to insulate it. The reason I'm going to do it is because this freezer's been working out awesome. If you want to skip to the end of the video and you just want to figure out if this is going to work, it is going to work. This freezer's been working really good. It's been maybe 3 weeks since I last took any video of this, but it's been close to 50, sometimes 60 degrees outside, and this freezer's been getting this non-insulated cold bath below 40 degrees pretty consistently. So it's actually working awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to insulate it and finish up the project because I already know it's going to work. I'm moving away. This is what I had going on for the input on the freezer. So there's a lot going on, and the problem with it is if you turned any of this a little bit, see if I can run with one hand. If you turned any of it one bit, it would like loosen this joint or loosen this joint. It would just mess with everything, and I don't know how it happened, But I moved this freezer twice and I never got any leaks. So I have no idea. But I'm kind of putting myself, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to put the freezer over here. And I'm kind of putting myself in a position because this freezer barely fits over there. And I just don't want these fittings or something to move, and I don't want it to start leaking, and then I'm got the freezer stuck over there and I can't move it and I can't fix it. So I'm going to go away from this complicated thing, and I'm just going to go to something very simple. So all I'm going to do is just a straight elbow into the bottom. So this is way easier, way cheaper. So I'm just going to stick that in there, and then I'm going to silicone it. See if I can show you. So I'm going to silicone it down in there. I can't hold both pieces or I'd show you, but I think silicone's going to be fine. And then the best part of it is, if this thing does leak, there's only one place it's going to leak from, and that's going to be inside the freezer. So I don't have to worry about which fitting is leaking. You know, is it leaking? It's going to be a much better setup, easier, cheaper, everything. So that's what I'm doing with the drain right now. I was so focused on there's an outside diameter thread, and then there's an inside diameter thread. And I was actually reading in a group on Facebook, and there's these inside threads. And all you need, this is a 1 1/4 PVC fitting. So, and it actually fits in there. So that makes me feel a lot better too, because I'm going to be able to seal that up. And this is all going to be insulated in here, and this is all going to be sealed up. So I won't be able to get to that fitting anymore. If it leaks, then that would be a problem. So everything's going to be nice and tight and leak free. And if it's not, it's easy to get to, easy to deal with. So put this thing together, get it insulated, and I'll have some results. Hey guys, so I got the cold bath all done. I wanted to give an update so I could get this information out there, because it's getting warm. It's turning summertime for a lot of us. The bottom line is that this freezer did work, but my main takeaway from it, and I know a lot of other people don't know this, even though a lot of people do, so be forgiving for us that don't understand, but my main takeaway was, I believed that I could get a freezer and I could cool the water 100% with that method. And what I came to find out is you could do that, but the freezer is going to be working all day, every day, especially when it gets hot. So my lesson learned on this is, I actually think that the insulation on the cold bath is as important, and probably more important than the freezer. So what I did here is I just kind of, I don't know if I can zoom out on that, but so I insulated the whole bath. As you can see, I did the tub's still in there, Rubbermaid tub. Let's see if I can show you. The Rubbermaid tub's still in here, and then I just did tongue and groove all the way around, and then there's tons of insulation going around all this. And so what I figured out is, this cold bath, it hasn't been really that hot here. It's been like an average of maybe like 60, 65 lately, but it's gotten up in the 70s. And even in the 70s, and as the deck gets full sun most of the day, this cold bath is only varying like 2 degrees. And I can show you a chart here. So if you look, this is the temperature of the cold bath. This is like over probably a little better than 2 weeks. But if you look at, let's see if I can get this thing to focus. If you look at any time it goes down, like right there, that's where I started the pump. So that's the pump, and then you can see it goes up about 2 degrees or 4 degrees for the day and the people that got in, and then I started the cold pump again. And then it went up, and then that's where I started the pump. So every one of those peaks is where it got to, but then every time it drops is where I start the pump in the freezer. So if you look, the maximum I've ever had it, and even like mid 70s degrees, is it says it's like 39.9. I'm not sure where that even was. It might have been right there, but I think that was also when I had 3 people get in it that day. So you can see it on average, it says it's 36, 37 degrees. And that's a really good temperature, I think. I'm pretty happy with it. So this is only varying like about 2 degrees all day. And the best part about that is that the freezer is able to make up for that 2 degrees pretty easily. So right now I'm running this freezer. Um, I start the pump about 7 p.m. because we get in maybe about 9 p.m. So if I started at 7, it starts circulating that water and it brings down a couple degrees. So I'm keeping this thing about 35, 36 degrees on average. So I start that pump and it'll start pumping the water and it brings it down about 35 degrees. And then if anybody's interested in numbers, I kind of am. I think it's interesting. But for each person that gets in this bath, it raises it about 1 degree. But we're getting in the sauna first. So about 190 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. So each person that gets in will raise it 1 degree. So we've got 2 of us that get in every night. So that's 2 degrees. And then during the day, this thing will raise about 2 degrees on its own. So that's about 4 degrees a day that I'm fighting to bring down. And that's 60, 65, 70, 75 degrees. So 100 degrees is probably going to be a little bit worse than that, but I don't know. I don't know how much. But anyway, the moral of the story is this is all working. I'll show you the freezer real quick. One hand, but I just put the freezer down here. Just hit it. So here's my freezer. And then you see I actually insulated the lines with pool noodle at the dollar store. So you can get these for $1, so it's a good deal. And then I'll pull this all back for you. But this thing all pulls away. So I had this pull away because then I can get to my filter, and I can actually, if anything goes wrong with this freezer, I can pull this freezer completely out. So like I say, that the hardest part is insulating the bath. Once you have the insulated bath, it's like you just need a freezer, like a $50 freezer. Your plumbing's gonna cost you a little bit of money. The pump was like $20. This thing's like $50 with some filters and stuff. So it's actually pretty cheap. But here's where I got my pump in. And I'm actually gonna move this because one thing I do have a problem with is my inlet is down there from the cold bath. And if I turn the freezer on too long, it freezes around the edges first, and it'll freeze up that hole, and then I don't have any movement. So I'm just going to put a fitting in, and I'm going to move it to the middle, and then I'll probably move this pump all the way down too. So there's a little bit of changes I need to make. I got my rain gutter coming in still from here, so my rain gutter fills this bath with the fresh water. And then we're also doing like a couple cups of Epsom salt, and this stays pretty clean. So anyway, that's kind of how I hid the freezer a little bit. So just goes like that. Then I'll show you the cold bath one more time. So it's in here, and then I got this little digital thermometer. So it tells me, actually, I'm not guessing from using that turtle anymore. So it's all worked out pretty good. So yeah, it's all working out awesome. We've got a cold bath that stays in the mid 30s. And like I say, I'm only running that freezer. I run it from 10 p.m. to about 4 a.m., which, I obviously did that for the coldest part of the days to stress the freezer the least. And 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., if it's down, it still gets down in the middle of the night, like in the 40s here. So that's why I said I'm having problems with the freezer freezing up in the bottom, and then I'm not getting any flow. So it's a little bit too much to run it from 10 to 4. But what I've been doing is I just look at it. I look at the temperature of the bath, and if it's like 38 degrees, I'll just turn the pump on, and I'll run it until it's probably like 36. And I just kind of keep an eye on it. It would be a way better setup to have a thermometer in there that runs like off Wi-Fi or something. And you just say, if it's not, say 36 degrees, you run the pump, you run the freezer until it is. That'd be a way easier to do it. I don't know that I'm that motivated. It's, I don't know if I explained this, but the pump and the freezer are all on Wi-Fi switches. So I can see, because I have that digital thermometer now too, I can see the temperature. You know, if I was anywhere, if I was at a restaurant eating and I wanted to come home and do a cold bath and I saw it was like 40 degrees, I can turn the pump on through my phone. I can turn the freezer on through my phone, and I can get it cold by the time I get home if I want to do that. So there's a lot of options you can do and a lot of things I didn't do, but this is just kind of working for me right now. Like I say, I might set it up so it's on a uh, just a program setup that keeps it at a temperature. It'd be way easier, but I don't know. I'm just kind of done, just kind of enjoying it. It seems easy right now. So hopefully that helps people. That's what I was saying. The bottom line to me is you gotta insulate the bath, and then once you insulate the bath, yeah, I mean you can run this freezer. You can run a free or $50 freezer really easily. It's all about the insulation on the cold bath though. So if you have that, just grab a freezer and you can save yourself a ton of money on a chiller. $50, and then it breaks. If it does, I don't know if it will. Another $50 for free. So anyway, I hope this helps some people out. You guys have really helped me out. Um, just getting into the cold bath thing has been awesome. It's changed my life, changed my wife's life. So I appreciate everybody spreading information, and I hope this spreads some information and gets people a cheaper cold bath now that the warm months are coming. Take care, and leave a comment, and I'll respond if I can. One last update before I put this video online. I ended up going with the Inkbird thermostat controller. So basically I set this up to keep the cold bath at 36 degrees, and I told it if it goes to 37, that's when it starts cooling. So it only lets it rise 1 degree until it turns on the freezer and the cold bath, or the freezer and the pump. So this has been working out amazing. The freezer turns on pretty much one time a day, and that's pretty much when we get in. It happens to be the end of the day when the temperature of the freezer goes up 1 degree, or I'm sorry, the temperature of the cold bath goes up 1 degree, and then we get in, goes up another 2 degrees. This runs in the middle of the night, and it's done. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to do anything. Everything's all automated now. So here's a little better. So this is the Inkbird controller, and you can get it on Amazon. I got it on sale it was like 35 bucks. So this thing's working great. Don't even look at it. Like I said, we just get in every day and have fun.